Compassion, is it nature or nurture? Or is it part of nature but you can still nurture it? The same can be asked of cruelty, of course. I personally believe that both these characteristics are part of your being, you're born with it, but it should be and can be cultivated, especially, of course, compassion. I want to relate a story that happened to me around about 1960, which is a long time ago. It happened in a society that was quite different than the society of nowadays. And I'm not talking about telephones and all the electronic stuff that we have now. People thought differently than today. Things were normal then, which today we say, no, 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 that's horrible, we should never do that. In any case, it's all about the fact that once I caught a bird with my bare hands. What happened is that the previous day I caught a bird in a trap. My father built a trap, a square thing covered with gauze or net or whatever. You set it up on a stick with a string attached to the stick. You bait it with food for the birds, and then you hang behind the bush. And when the birds are under the trap feeding, then you just pull the string and the trap closes. My father was actually after a specific bird that visited his aviary, and which was quite valuable. So he offered me a shilling should I catch that bird. To put it in perspective, a shilling was quite a lot of money in those days. Today it's 10 cents only today. You can buy nothing with 10 cents today. But with that shilling, half of the shilling was a sixpence. And with that sixpence I could buy a ticket for the bioscope. And for a tikkie I could buy a Coke, and for the other tikkie I could buy 18 of these round black hard candy balls. So I was quite eager to catch that bird. Set up the trap, waited. That bird never came along, but eventually I decided to pull the string, and I caught what we call a rooikop mossie. In English it's a red-headed finch. A finch, a mossie is a sparrow. So we call it a red-headed sparrow, but I assume that scientifically it's a finch. Caught the bird, put it in the cage, gave it water and food, whatever, left it on the porch wall overnight, and went to sleep. The next morning I got up and remembered, but I have to give it food and water before I go to school. So opened the front door onto the porch, and as I approached the bird cage, I saw there's another bird sitting next to the cage, and it was very cold. It was in the Free State and it was winter. It was very cold, and the poor bird was puffed up trying to conserve some warmth, and probably half asleep as well. So I stalked it and caught it with my bare hands. I was quite proud of that. I put it in the cage and I left for school. At school, of course, I bragged about it because nobody else has ever caught a bird with his bare hands. It's always the same with young boys. I must have been about, say, 9 or 10 or whatever. When you brag about something, the other guy also brags about something. So the one guy would say, "No, that's nothing. My father killed a lion with his bare hands," and the other guy would say, "No, a snake tried to bite my dad, and he caught it by the tail and swung it around and flung it away," whatever. I was still proud about the fact that I caught a bird. But as the day went on, I started thinking about that bird and its mate in the cage. They were quite frantic to get out. to the extent that they flew into the bars and hurt themselves, and I felt really bad about that. When I got home, I went straight to the bird cage, opened the gate, the door, and let them out. Now, I'm not sure if that counts as compassion, or maybe it was just a guilty conscience. Maybe it's the same thing, I don't know. But at least I felt pity, and I never caught a bird in a trap again. Never put a bird in that small cage again. And I do believe my life turned around with these two birds in the cage. I believe compassion can be cultivated, and I think it should be cultivated. So next time you see your small child or your grandchildren or whatever bullying the cat or the dog, stop it. Tell them not to do it. Teach them that animals should be treated with respect and that other people should be treated with respect. You can never start too young to teach compassion.